Hello, and on the gaming table today we're taking a look at a Mini-Warmaster Dark Elf Ambush. So recently I got some Dark Elves and Witch Elves painted up. I should have actually had 3 stands of Witch Elves here because that's what I painted, but unfortunately meet Mimi, Destroyer of Witch Elves. She managed to eat one of the stands somehow, I'm not quite sure. I don't know how Magnet tastes, but we can ask her later. But anyway, I thought what I'd do is just have a little game with these in a Mini-Warmaster style. And I put together a little chaos force and said that we're going to have some Witch Elves and Harpies ambushing them here. So this is the chaos force that was on the table, and here you can see them stretched out on a line going across the table here, about to be ambushed. So here's the table that we laid out with some hills and lots of little trees and forests. There's a piece of rough ground there in the rectangular template. That's actually for a different game, but I just put it on the table. And here are the Witch Elves and the Harpies lined up ready to take on this chaos column, emerging from the trees and other cover, getting ready to charge in here into the flanks, into the rear, and generally cause some chaos to the chaos. So what we had here is 1,000 points of chaos forces. So here you can see chaos warriors, some marauders, ogres, marauder horsemen, knights with a sword of destruction, some chaos hounds, a general and a hero with a sword of might. The Dark Elves just had 2 units of Witch Elves, 6 units of Harpies, and 2 Sorceresses. No general here, no heroes. So just 2 Sorceresses with all their limitations in terms of command, but they do have a Ring of Magic and a Wand of Power to help them out here. Only 730 points, but they will get the first turn, and the Chaos Forces are strung out in a column. So on the first turn, there were no initiative moves. Nothing was in range on purpose to be able to do an initiative charge, but the Harpies were able to do some homebacks, got themselves into charge position, and then managed to charge in. The Witch Elves tried to do the same, but failed on their second order in both cases to actually get into combat. And you can see on the right there, 2 units of Harpies still in reserve, not committed yet. But down here, we've got 4 units of Harpies engaged, 2 of them creating a Chaos Warrior sandwich, and another one going after Marauder Horsemen, and the last on the left going after the Marauder Infantry. Now, the Dark Elf Sorceresses here tried to cast spells. They tried to get the Dominion spell off to stop things charging. One of them managed to stop the Chaos Knights from charging in the next turn. And the other one tried to do the same down here with one of the units of Marauders, but unfortunately failed to do so. So in the first rounds of combat, the Harpies did well here, knocking off the unit of Marauders in 1 combat round, only suffering 1 wound in return. And then they charged into the back of the Ogres. Now this fight ended up being a draw, 1 point each, the Harpies managing to survive, and so both sides fell back. More towards the front of the column, the second unit of Harpies again managed to take out the Marauder Cavalry, in this case with only 1 wound taken. And then rather than joining the fight with the Chaos Warriors there, they held back and got ready for a charge in a different direction on the next turn. If they'd gone into the front of the Chaos Warriors and the Chaos Warriors were beaten but not killed, the Chaos Warriors could have fallen back away from any of the 3 contacted stands, and so they would have gone directly backwards. But here they're still stuck in that Harpy sandwich. And the Harpy sandwich, after 1 round of combat, they didn't kill the Chaos Warriors, but they did. The Chaos Warriors did lose the combat, and so they were forced to withdraw into one of the enemy units and were destroyed. So a good start for the Dark Elves here. The Harpies then got keen and decided to go into the Ogres. They could both get in here as an advance. And actually in 1 round of combat, they actually managed to kill off the Ogres, and the Ogres did nothing in return. So even better for the Dark Elves. So at the end of the turn, the center of the chaos line here has been ripped apart, and the Harpies are in good positions to try and get some charges in the future. Here's an overhead shot, and you can see that gaping hole in the middle of the chaos column. Now, in chaos turn, first orders, they tried to get some hounds into the flank of the Witch Elves, but a second order here from the Sorcerer failed. At the rear of the column, there was a charge made on the Witch Elves that had emerged from the woods, but the second unit here didn't manage to get into contact with the Harpies. Down here, the General's order managed to get the second unit of Chaos Hounds into the flank of the Witch Elves with 2 orders, and then he ordered the Knights, and they just went up onto the hill. Remember, they couldn't charge because they're suffering from Dominion. The hero over here joined the combat, and the wizard went in to support as well by trying to cast a spell. However, the spell didn't come off, trying to get the shooting spell off. But in combat, the Marauders managed to do enough to take out the Witch Elves in a single round of combat without dying in return. And so they positioned themselves to face up the field. Here, the Hounds and the Witch Elves, even though the Witch Elves were attacked in the flank, this fight resulted in a draw. That put the Witch Elves in a good position to be able to do an initiative charge in the next round, and the Hounds here basically put themselves in a position to be a target of that initiative charge, kind of a bleat of armor for the Knights behind them. So in the next round, the Dark Elf turn here, the Harpies at the top charged into the Marauders, the Witch Elves at the bottom charged into the Hounds. And after those initiative moves, the reserve Harpies came into the field. They managed to get into positions quite close to the Chaos Knights, but unfortunately not close enough to the Sorceresses to be able to receive orders, so that was as far as they were going to go this turn. The Sorceress at one end of the table managed to get 2 units of Harpies into the Marauders here, and also put another unit in behind to try and trap those Marauders. Over here, the other Sorceress tried to get a unit of Harpies into combat here, unfortunately managed to fail the roll, so nothing really happened there. However, those Knights and Hounds there are looking a little bit surrendered. Here, the Sorceress got Dominion in once again on the unit of Marauders. They're not charging next turn. And the Sorceress here tried to cast Doombolt down the line of Chaos Cavalry units here, managed to get 1 hit on each unit and drove them back a little bit, but nothing was confused. The Witch Elves started off the turn by attacking the Hounds. They drove them back by winning the first round and then beat them in the second round. And Witch Elves being Witch Elves, they decided to charge in here rather than receiving a charge. That fight will continue in the next turn. Down here, the Harpies managed to squeak out a win over the Chaos Marauders and then surrounded them and won the combat again, but not by enough to kill the Marauders. So the Marauders withdrew slightly sideways, and that's where combat stood. Now, in the Chaos turn, they really didn't have much they could order here. The 1 unit of Marauders that was free and unengaged, suffering from Dominion, decided to take 2 orders and retreat into the woods. Whereas over here, the General is forced to just watch on as his 2 other units are locked in combat with the Witch Elves. Here, the Marauders and the Harpies had a big fight. It ended up as a draw, and the Marauders tried to make it into the woods. They didn't quite get there. They're touching the template, which means they'll get defended status, but they're still partially exposed, which means the Harpies can still attack them. Up on the hill here, as the Chaos General watched on, the Hounds and the Witch Elves managed to destroy each other. A little bit of assistance from the Knights there. The Knights then, with their fallback move, got into a position where they're not going to be attacked in the flank in the following turn, putting themselves on that hill. In the Dark Elf turn, initiative charges here. The Dark Elves got in to the face of the Marauders, and then with an order managed to get a unit of Harpies into the side as well. The 3rd unit of Harpies wanted to get involved as well, but failed its last order. Up on the hill here, 1 unit of Harpies managed to get into combat. A 2nd unit got round to the rear, and then a 3rd unit was going to charge into the flank, but unfortunately failed its order. The Sorceresses here both went to this end of the table to try and cast spells to influence this combat. They were trying to get Doombolts off to be able to smash up those Knights a little bit. However, both of them failed to cast. Down here, even though the Marauders had the benefit of defended status in the woods, the Harpies managed to knock them out in 1 round of combat. They did suffer 2 wounds in return, but that's not going to matter because they're not facing anything else. Up on the hill, the Knights stood firm. They managed to take out the Harpies in front of them, and then after that, they charged down the hill with their advance move into the unit of Harpies at the bottom of the hill, managed to take them out in 1 round of combat as well, and then repositioned themselves to face off against the last unit. Now, in the Chaos turn, the Chaos Knights couldn't see those Harpies because they're on the reverse slope of the hill there, so they took 2 moves to consolidate back with the rest of the Chaos forces on the side. A very depleted looking Chaos force here, all that's left of their column. And the Dark Elves, with most of their Harpy units too far away from their Sorceresses to do anything this turn, they could just take home backs maybe, we decided to call it a day there. So, Chaos went off to lick their wounds, and the Dark Elf Harpies at least will celebrate their victory. Lots of Witch Elves perished. So I hope you found that a little bit interesting. Just a quick Mini-Warmaster game, a little bit of a scenario game for a little bit of fun to get the Dark Elves and Harpies on the table. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.